Welcome back. Great show for y'all today. Could the Warriors get swept? Impacts of the Draymond suspension, Cavs, Knicks, Clippers, Suns, and much more on this episode of the Hoop Plug. I am your plug. I'm Tyler, here with my dog, my brother, my co-host, Faraz. How you feeling, brother?
Hey, I'm feeling good, bro. You already know, man. How you doing today, my brother, my dog, my brother? Tyler, how you feeling today, bro?
I'm feeling good, much better than the reigning champs, that's for sure.
I mean, shoot, man, if there's no other place to kick it off. Last time Golden State was down 0-2 in the playoffs. Wait a minute. I don't think the Golden State Warriors have ever been down 0-2 with Steph Curry on the roster, man. This is something that's new to these Golden State Warriors.
You know, and if you had to guess who that squad would be, maybe it'd be a LeBron squad, maybe one of those dominant teams out east like the Bucks. But no, it's a team that hasn't made the playoffs in this past 16 years, bro. There's one thing we've learned from this dynasty, right? This tremendous Warriors dynasty, them putting some respect on that Golden State name, is that they have one weakness, and it's always been there since Steph Curry's been donning his jersey. It's the turnover. Bro, that thing was out to get him. 6 turnovers in the first quarter. Nothing came easy for Golden State in that game, and that's how we find them down 0-2.
Facts, man. Light the beam. The beam has been lit, man. Sacramento has been going off. I mean, you're getting consistent performances from your stars, but no more consistent than one De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox has been the difference maker in this series so far, and to be quite frank, they look like a 3rd seed playing a 6th seed right now. We have these different standards for the Warriors because we know they're the reigning champs. We knew they were dealing with injuries. They weren't necessarily firing on all cylinders. We say, you know what? It's all right. Even though they're a 6th seed, last time they were in this spot, they upset the 3rd seed Denver Nuggets and got Andre Iguodala to come to the Bay. I don't think they're going to be able to steal anyone from Sacramento. However, I don't think this series is over. However, you cannot discredit the Sacramento Kings. They have been putting the ball in the basket and taking care of the rock, at least much better than the Golden State Warriors have.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. A couple of things I'm seeing here, and you mentioned don't panic yet, right? Like, this shouldn't have surprised anyone. Golden State has been awful on the road all year. For the playoffs to start and us to expect that to change is just kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, home court advantage is a thing for real. And anyone that's watched those games has seen how crazy, insane, how hungry them fans are. That place is the loudest arena in the playoffs so far. I think the Knicks and MSG might take the cake, but they haven't played a home game yet. So we'll see about that, bro. One thing, Klay still feels a touch off. I know he's played pretty well, but that's relative to what we saw last year, not the all-star version of Klay Thompson that he once was. And it just, like I said, feels a touch off. He's hesitating at times. It used to never be a question. He was raising up on every touch with confidence to it. It doesn't feel quite the same for him, bro.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the difference maker in this series for me, the lack of the difference maker this series has been Klay. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Something feels off. I mean, he doesn't have the same, well, I can't say that. He has the same confidence. You know, we see him throwing up the 4 on every given night, but performance-wise, it's not there. Like you said, there's a hesitation. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if Klay hasn't seen it go into the back of the net as much as he's used to. I don't know if it's just the injury bug has bitten and he can't fully be himself
and
again.
They need him because where's the offense going to come from if not from him outside of Steph, right? You're throwing out defenders, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney's, Draymond Green's, right? Andrew Wiggins just got back on the court after like 3 months off. It's not a great spot right now for Golden State. But let's, like you said, give flowers to Sacktown on the other side of the coin because they deserve it, bro. De'Aaron Fox has been maybe the best player in the playoffs so far. He's playing in a gear that no one else on Golden State can get to. You know what I'm saying? He's Usain Bolt out there, and he's making Steph look like he's 45 instead of 35. The Sabonis addition, too, I think that's done a lot for him. Like, he covers some of his weaknesses. He doesn't have to run the offense as much because they got that hub in Sabonis. He can just be downhill shifty, get to the cup, and that suits him.
But, man, I'll tell you what, though. Like, we got to give the flowers to the Kings, but we also got to give the lack of credit or the lack of flowers to the Warriors, man, because this team looks like they're relying on Jordan Poole's 25 and 30 point a game nights, right, which we know we're not going to get. Klay came out and said Jordan Poole's basically playing on half a foot. We know he's dealing with some injuries. But, I mean, when you're relying on Jordan Poole was great for what he did without Klay, right? But with Klay back, we expect him to kind of fill in somewhat of a role closer to what Andrew Wiggins did for them during that championship run, which, I mean, you couldn't have asked for for more from Andrew Wiggins in his return. How much more can you ask from Klay? I mean, 21 points, I mean, that's just about average for him. But it's less efficiency, takes more shots to get there, less confidence, a lot more hesitation. I mean, this Warriors team is not clicking. This is the first time since 2013, and, you know, barring the injury-riddled seasons that they had the last couple years, not including the chip, this team is looking human for once. You know, Golden State always finds a way to pull it off. Golden State always finds a way to ring off 5 threes in a row for the comeback. But man, this is one time where I don't think let me stop myself. I was going to say, I don't think they have a chance to come back. That's not true. But I don't think it's easy for them. Like, it's not like, all right, we know down 3, down 2, it doesn't matter. This time around, it might.
You're right. And we got to address the elephant in the room, the Dre suspension. That's definitely not going to help them in game 3, bro. Oh, instant reactions, bro. What'd you think? What'd you make of it?
All right, so if you look at how the play went down in the flow of the game, you might not notice it right away, right? You know, zoomed out, watching it from the stands or from your couch at home. Like, all right, Sabonis grabbed his leg. Draymond looked like he tried to get free, and I saw Sabonis going crazy, right? But when you see the replay, it is obvious, man. There is no way around it. Draymond stomped a hole in that boy's chest. Get
and
off
then
of me.
tried to play off him to act like it wasn't nothing big. No big deal.
Hey, if there was no replay in the league, he may have gotten away with it. If he wasn't Draymond, he may not have been suspended, man. But we know Draymond. This is business as usual for him, you know. And unfortunately, another moment where Draymond's attitude has gotten the best of him and left the Warriors in a terrible predicament.
And the weird thing about the punishment, at least, is the NBA admitting they did it with their bias, right? Like, they're coming out and say, yeah, this is not just the act, but the person that committed the act. The repeat offender line they threw out like 5 or 6 times in the explanation of it. It didn't feel like the right call to me, bro. I thought they handled it right in the moment. Why didn't we leave it there? Tech on Sabonis, elevated to a ejection for Draymond. He just missed half a game effectively, but you tack on another game. Now it's a game and a half suspension the way I see it.
Correct.
And it wasn't really Dre going out of his way. If Sabonis doesn't hold his ankle,
that doesn't happen.
This whole thing doesn't happen. Yeah. Is this the precedent you want to set? Like, if that was Chris Middleton, do you think he's getting suspended?
No.
Immaculate reputation? No, right?
I don't even need to think on it, bro. This is happening because it's Draymond Green. It wasn't necessarily his fault. He was reactive. But somebody grabbing my leg, I'm going to be reactive too. We're down 1-0. The game is close. I'm going to react. You know what I mean? And I think, like you said, they got it right in the moment. But the NBA, they always got to be teaching people lessons, right? Why don't y'all teach the refs a lesson, man? Why don't you hold the refs accountable? How many games have been lost strictly off referee decisions, man? I don't know, man. The last time the Warriors were faced with this predicament, and the Warriors have no one to blame but Draymond at the end of the day. Because although, again, if he's not grabbed in the ankle by Sabonis, that doesn't happen, he's got to show a little more self-control. And that's so easy to say from where I'm sitting. Emotions are running high. I'm a competitor as well, and not even close to the competitor that these guys are. But Draymond, man, you know, they're looking to get you, right? They're targeting you. So why are you going to give enemies ammo against you?
And the podcast, for the first time, is on delay. You know what I'm saying? Generally, if it was a win, you know that podcast would be out by now, but that's saying something. So as you said, bro, the Warriors are in a tricky predicament. Could they actually be swept? And I think the funny thing is here, look at this in a vacuum. Our eyes are telling us something our brains just simply don't want to accept. The faster, younger team here is just better. Now, I'm not sure if I can call that a sweep, but if someone that knew nothing about the Warriors championships, their dynastic history, they just watched games 1 and 2, they would be like, oh yeah, the Kings are a better team. And there's a 3 seed. Of course they're going to win this series.
Yeah, I mean, logic says one thing, right? The heart says another. You know what I mean? And the heart's still rocking with Steph, Klay, and Dre and them boys down in Golden State. Man, I should have said Steph, Klay, and Dre down in the Bay. We're going to keep it like that. It's funny when you have biases, right? You'll almost lie to yourself. You almost tell yourself, like, this can't be. This is Steph. This is Klay. This is Dre. They got Jordan Poole. They got Andrew Wiggins. Like, Steve Kerr's a goddamn coach. You know, like, they can't lose. They're Golden State, you know? But I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. They are starting to look human. And 1 + 1 has got to equal 2. I don't think they're in sweep territory yet, but this reminds me of when, and I don't know if the Warriors are going to lose. They very much have an opportunity to come back. And if there's a team who's able to do it, it's them. This is almost and this is if the Kings win, a passing of the torch situation like we saw in 2012 between Kobe and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Young KD, young RW, Russell Westbrook. I don't think anybody's ever called him that. My boy JH13, James Harden. And so this, if the Kings win this, to me, this is a passing of the torch.
Not just them. If the Warriors and LeBron's Lakers lose in the first round, it's the end of an era. Don't tell me about nothing. The era is over. The LeBron Steph finals that we watched 6 times in a row, that's it's done. It's in the past. It's over. All right, but a couple of things, because I like what you said there about the Warriors still having a chance. They're heading to the Bay now.
Yeah.
And as good as that Sacktown crowd is, that Bay crowd is getting rowdy as well. All right, y'all. I do think the Kings offense will take a step back on the road. This is still a young team, even though they don't look like it right now. And you said that coaching advantage with Steve Kerr. I'm not sure, bro, because the new coach of the year is Mike Brown. And shout out Bill Simmons. I was listening to his podcast. He pointed this out. Just talking about the defensive game plan of the Kings, bro. They're treating Steph like a quarterback. Sometimes they blitz him with doubles. A couple possessions later, they're dropping back into coverage. They're switching how they guard him every 5 minutes. And it's not making it impossible. He's still putting up 30, but it is confusing the others because they know exactly when he's going to get it, and they're on him.
Facts, dog. But I'm not going to lie, this situation, them going to be back in the Bay, this reminds me of playing situations. My boy Karl Anthony Towns, New Jersey native. We in Minnesota, but they still got to come to Minnie. What? Although that didn't work in that situation, it's relevant here. All right, and I had to laugh to myself. I'm like, I don't think anyone has ever said that ever. Like ever. Yeah, they got to come to Minnesota. We in Minnesota now. Like, I don't even think KG was saying all that.
Nah,
you know, but now we in Golden State. Now we in the Bay. You know what I'm saying? This ain't Sacktown. This is San Fran, all right? If there is an opportunity for the Warriors to win a game anywhere, it's here at home. Click off 2 in a row. Maybe build some momentum, get themselves back in the series. Yup. And at the end of the day, I've always thought it was interesting, right? Because especially in the first 4 games, I think it's more common than the last 3. But in the first 4 games, 9 times out of 10, the home teams win their home games, right? And on top of that, like, even if it's not that case, it's usually you're going to be better at home. Let's see. Like, so far, Sacramento has done what they've done. The Golden State Warriors would have been an advantage by winning a game on the road. Now they got to do what they got to do, which is win their 2 at home. And they got to steal one of the road games, you know?
Yeah, so final takeaway for me so far, I was the Kings guy. I was the one lighting the beam. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to this podcast, you know, I was like, this offense is historic. But I don't even like the Kings anymore. It's not something I expected to say before this series, but Sabonis doing all the dirty plays. JJ did a great job of pointing it out on First Take, and it feels like them being rewarded for it. It's extremely friendly whistle. Now the Dre suspension, and you could tell the Kings were angling for it the way they spoke about it in post game, and then they're giving Sabonis phony X-rays. Bro, they knew he was fine. Talking about doubtful with the sternum injury. He's playing. I'd put money on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like it. Like you're beating the Warriors. Why don't you want to beat them healthy? Like, don't you want to say, yeah, we did that? Like, the extra stuff is bothering me now.
That's why when DeMarcus Cousins left Sacramento a very long time ago is when I checked out to that franchise. Big shouts out to my boy Boogie. Well said, though, Ty. Moving on, another fire series, man. This thing is neck and neck throughout 2 games. You got the Cleveland Cavs versus the New York Knicks, man. Dog, the New York Knicks look like they came back to earth, bro.
Go New York, go New York, go. Darius Garland was going. And going, and we couldn't stop him. 32 big ones. Evan Mobley looked like the guy from the second half that finished third in Depoy. Cavs were, after all that talk, all that Julius Randle knocking the chest out of Evan Mobley, they were the more physical team in game 2. But I'm not freaking out yet. I'm not freaking out. Knicks fans, don't worry. Like Julius said, we didn't expect to ever win this in 4. All right, Cavs are a young team, and they're going to New York in the Garden for 3 and 4, man. Crowd's going to be crazy. Let's see Garland do that again.
Funny thing about that night is Donovan Mitchell missed a 40-point playoff game, right? That's what he's known for at this point. He said, I'm going to leave the scoring to y'all. I'm going to get it how I live on the assist and in the passing lanes, you know, finishing with 17 and 3. You know, not the best scoring game for him, but more than made up for it with his passing and the way he was able to facilitate this offense, man. And onto the Knicks side, man, this was a terrible game all around. I mean, they lost by 17. Felt like it was way further than that, you know. The reason being is Julius Randle had an okay game, wasn't as efficient as he normally was. Very disappointed disappointed in RJ Barrett. Hasn't had, a game that he can be proud of so far. Mitchell Robinson played terribly in his limited minutes. Jalen Brunson, he did all right. I mean, between him and Julius Randle, they're the only ones who had okay games. But dude, like Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, like in 27 minutes, 22 minutes, you're giving me 5 points, Josh Hart. We know you good for at least 15 and 5. They needed that, And so I think they get back to Madison Square Garden. This team, they settle the nerves a little bit. Yeah, and they're able to easily, I think, take these next 2 games.
For me, Josh Hart gets a pass, right? He's playing with a bum ankle. I don't even think they should have played him, but either way, he gets a pass in my book out there when like I said, I don't think he should be. Quickly, Grimes and RJ haven't showed up to this series yet. And we need at least one of them if we're going to win this. We need at least one of them. And the guy out of that group that I'm most concerned about is a $30 million a year man on RJ Barrett. I'm worried if this goes 2 more games, especially at home, and he hasn't figured this out. 6 for 25 in the series so far. And it's not just this series issue, because his first crack in the playoffs, he looked just about the same, even though he was 2 years younger. He hasn't had one good playoff game yet in 7 tries. That's starting to worry me. It is a 22-year-old we're talking about, but it is also year 4, year 5.
They starting to add up. And RJ, this is the thing, right? What you have over one Zion Williamson over in New Orleans. You've been playing the whole time. The Knicks have given you minutes. I mean, barring maybe your rookie season, which you still played a lot of minutes. You were still on the floor for a lot of
every game.
You know what I mean? I don't know what the excuse is. All-world talent coming out of high school, all-world talent in college. Zion had a little bit higher ceiling than RJ did. I mean, dude, no one could have predicted in 5 years Zion would have barely touched the court and RJ would be looking like a shell of what he was in college and high school. Again, it's way too early to just, write RJ off. But he's got to bring something to the Knicks. I mean, if you really think about it, they got RJ what, second, third?
Overall. Third.
You got the 3rd overall.
Zion, Ja, RJ, yep.
So you got the 3rd overall pick, a guy who's supposed to be at this point a top 25 guy in the league. Like, honestly, the way that the hype surrounding him when he came in, he was supposed to be. Take it easy on me. Take it easy. I know you got something cooking, but no one would expect with RJ Barrett on the team that Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson would be the 1 and 2 options. Because if you really think about it, they got one all-star in Julius Randle, one supposed to be all-star in RJ Barrett, and one fringe all-star in Jalen Brunson. And I think he's just playing well above his standards.
Yeah. Again, I'm not worried about it, right? We're not talking about championships. We're just talking about this first round. This was supposed to be a good series. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be going 7. The Knicks winning 1 on the road is what they were supposed to do.
Correct.
But I got to talk about something. I don't know if you saw this. The Cavs posted up taking pictures after the game after splitting 2 at home. Excuse me? What? Like they're acting like they won a championship, smiling from ear to ear. Ear to ear.
Well, if you heard what I said before, like you're supposed to win your 2 games at home. They've technically failed. Like in their first 2, they failed so far. Going 50 at home, they've got to win at least a game on the road for this series to stay close.
Yeah. So again, I don't think it's going to come back to bite him or anything, but it was a little Sherman Ultra Soft, if you ask me.
Ultra soft, ultra gentle. Moving on, man. We got the Phoenix LA Clippers. Same LA, different team. And the Suns are finally able to do what they were supposed to do.
Things got a little scary for Phoenix early because Russell Westbrook came out blazing. He's playing intense D. He's fronting KD in the post. He's not just blocking, but punching his stuff into the... Again, I don't know how Russ is the only one that's able to block the KD pull-up jumper. No one touches it. He doesn't even see guys when they guard him. Yeah, Russ is punching. Oh my God.
Bro,
it's hilarious.
When you play with somebody for 8 years, you just understand them, bro. You just know them, man. And at the end of the day, Russ and KD were best friends. And although the beef is no longer existent, I think it doesn't hurt Russ a little bit that his career has gone the way it has and that KD's has gone the way KD's have, knowing that they were supposed to,
wrong.
You know what I mean? Knowing they were supposed to win a chip in OKC. I'm just saying. So Russ, on top of that, he's already ultimate energy. He said, I ain't even gonna really play defense like that. I'm just gonna wait for you to put it up and I'm gonna jump as high as I can. Get that out of here, man.
Yeah, and like we were saying, there's a moment early that second quarter where we're like, well, yo, Clippers really about to do this. Phoenix is really about to be a down 2-0 without PG on the court, the guy that's able to guard all 3 of those guys on Phoenix. Kawhi's reminding us how good he is, the super team killer himself.
Yep.
His offense so far has actually been better than that season when they won the chip in Toronto. He's been that good. And then they figure it out in Phoenix, though. They're playing drop coverage with Zubac. His foot speed is just not there. And Devin Booker, KD, Chris Paul, mid-range him to death.
And that's the thing. You have those three guys. I mean, it's not common that you see people operating in the mid-range, but usually those people who operate in the mid-range are top talents in the league. And that's because at the end of the day, when you need 2 points, it's the end of the game. It don't matter if you're shooting a layup, a mid-range, or a three, right? If you need them buckets, if you need a bucket, those guys are going to go into the mid-range and they're going to get you one. The last 2 minutes, don't discriminate against layups and threes. And if you shoot in the mid-range, you're shooting a mid-range. It's the same 2 points. So you just got too much offense over in Phoenix. And although you have, I think, enough defense with Paul George to handle them, I thought Paul George, this is going to be interesting.
And if you like mid-range, bro, this is the series for you. Because not only is it KD, this is like 4 of the best mid-range scorers of the last 20 years all on the court right now. Even Russ, who in his prime was a great mid-range scorer. Yes, great mid-range scorer back in OKC. He was using that glass like he was Tim Duncan, but he was doing the damn thing.
And the thing is, right, so far the Clippers have done what they've needed to do. They won a game on the road. You know, Russell Westbrook said 3-19, not for long. They win the 3-19 game. They lose the one where he goes 9 for 16, 28, 5-5.
He wasn't as impactful, and it was damn near triple-double, but it wasn't the same. I'm sorry, but I guess the 3-19 motivated him because he was playing like a bat out of hell on defense.
But I say all that to say this. The Clippers did what they're supposed to do. Again, like you mentioned, Kawhi, I mean, with the lack of time he's been on the floor in the last couple seasons, or at least since the Toronto chip, it's like we forget that we were talking about him being a top 2, top 3 guy. He's sometimes not even in the conversation anymore. So it looks like he got some new coating. The injury's gone, and the robot is here to stay.
The series is still far from over. I mean, there's a chance that the Suns figured it out and it will roll them from here, but I think more likely is the Suns are still figuring this thing out. This is what, game 5, game 6 together? If there's a time to catch them, it's right now. I wish the Clippers were fully healthy so they could give them their best shot, but either way, this is still going to be some good games. So check that out if you're up late.
Yes, sir. Man, we're going to have to get into it last, but certainly not least. Actually, I'm going to have to correct myself. This might actually be last and least, man. Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks. This is the only series I've seen where this is going to be a bona fide sweep, man. Count it. It's done. The Celtics are trying to win a championship. I'm not saying that they're going to, but they're clicking like they will. And the Hawks are just trying to avoid embarrassment at this point, man.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are the one team that would lose to everyone in the playoffs, 1 through 15, each conference right now. In the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, because then I'm like, wait a minute, the Heat are 8th seed, but then I'm like, no, the Heat are only the 8th seed because they lost the first play-in game. That looks weird though, right, man? A team that has 3 more wins than you being a seed lower than you. You know? Yeah,
it is weird. Nah, you're for real.
We're just looking at the standings, you know, but outside of that, I understand why they did it that way. I mean, the Hawks, the weakest team by far in this playoffs, you know, and maybe I'm happy my Chicago Bulls didn't advance, right? Because it might have been us.
You would have to get tortured for 4 more games, bro.
Honestly, nah. Like, we would have been playing a Giannis-less Bucks, and like at the end of the day, although the Hawks were the 7th seed, our stars are better than their stars. We're an on paper 9 seed, but like, we should really be like a 5 seed, at least a 6 seed, something.
Yeah, and that star that you mentioned in Atlanta that you think those guys in Chicago are better than, I want to talk about. Because I watched some of these first 2 games. And the only time the Hawks looked good was with that guy, Trae Young, on the bench. We also just saw him voted by his peers as one of the most overrated players in the league. And man, I think that begs a serious question, one that Atlanta is obviously already thinking about since we saw those reports. What should they do? Trade rumors, the floodgates are open, and as soon as this offseason starts, you're going to be hearing his name fly around. It might be one of those trades, though, for ATL where you ain't getting back what you think you are. Because here's the problem. Trae Young, even though he's got this reputation as the next thing since Steph Curry, he's not making any threes. 33%? That is not in that guy's range. Don't put him in the same conversation.
Career lows, no doubt. But I mean, nonetheless, you are speaking facts. And I think what is interesting about Trae, we've never seen somebody average almost a 30-point double-double with assists and have no impact on winning basketball. And it's so hard to say that because we know they beat the Knicks a couple years ago. Big shouts, no shouts. You know what I'm saying? He looked like him in that series. He looked confident. He looked like he can impact winning, that he didn't have empty stats, but something happened.
The more impressive thing is the Philly win.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how that was possible.
We know he's got something in him, but the last season it hasn't been that. He has deserved the overrated comments. Is it that he's playing with a DeJounte Murray, someone who plays basically the same position as him? There's no real differentiation between what the two can do. I mean, besides on the defensive end?
I mean, I think their games are very different offensively, but you're talking about what they offer you. And I agree with you there because there's a lot of guys that can run an offense, be a bucket, find guys, and they'll do it in a bigger frame and give you a lot more on the defensive end, which is pretty much, like you said, what they have in DeJounte Murray. The other problem, because it's not really the offense, it's the defense. And he's literally the worst defensive guard in the league. A lot of it's not his fault. It's the stature, right? But this isn't a small man's game. The Steph Currys, the Allen Iversons, those are the exceptions. And you know how hard it is to win when you're at that size and that's your offense. I'm not sure there's a bunch of suitors that would want to take on that contract and liability on the defensive end. You saw how Isaiah Thomas was forced out of the league because of his size. We all knew he could get buckets. But when you're that much of an issue, even if it's a slight dip in from 30 to 10 to 20 and 6, you become not worth it.
You said it, man. I mean, some seriously important points that you made. You know when it's so obvious? When you got to play a team like the Boston Celtics, man. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, I mean, even Al Horford. Trae Young is having a terrible day on defense, man. Like, it's just terrible. It doesn't matter what he does on the offensive end unless he's dropping 40 and 12, like we've seen him do before, right? It doesn't matter. Because guess what? On switches, on one-on-ones, everybody's able to cook them. And so it's not like he's efficient enough. It's not like he's doing enough on the offensive end these days to make up for that. And I said, damn, when you mentioned DeJounte Murray, because although DeJounte Murray might not score as normally as high of a clip as Trae Young, what is he off, a point or two? We know that he can get you those scoring outings when he needs it. Way better defender, little bit bigger frame. And I'm going to be quite frank, that man is way more of a dog than Trae Young is. DeJounte Murray is a dog, but I don't think Trae Young deserves all the blame.
I agree.
You know, this team from top to bottom isn't ready to contend in the playoffs, let alone contend for a championship, you know?
Yeah, John Collins looks lost out there. He has no role in the series. They haven't done much favors. DeAndre Hunter is supposed to be their wing defender that they put money into. Jason Tatum's blowing him by. It's Jason Tatum at the same time, but he's blown by him one-on-one. Easy.
Cooking him. Putting him in the spin.
This is such a mismatch, bro. Boston in 3.
We taking it back to the 5-game series? Yeah, man, I'm right there with you, man. Boston in 4. I don't see the Hawks sneaking a game. I mean, even if they can, by some miracle, win a game at home, Boston in 5. There's no real hope here for Atlanta. Chalk it up. Yeah. You made it to the playoffs. Move on till next year.
All right, speaking of moving on, we got to move that hairline on and not in the reverse direction. We're trying to bring it back. Same thing with the beards. If it's looking patchy, they got you too. EvanAlexanderGrooming.com. They're the best men's hair care grooming company in the game.
Facts. Y'all tired of that Patches O'Houlihan, tired of that receding hairline, tired of not getting love from the ladies. All that stops today, guys. With promo code hoop_plug_ when you go to check out at EvanAlexanderGrooming.com. Give you 15% off on everything you need to keep the beard, the hair, the skin elite. Man, you already know, guys, that's going to do another episode of the Hoop Plug. And as always, everybody, appreciate y'all rocking with us. Put some flavor in your ear. Peace.
Peace.